again. I always seem to get a pretty good response when I post videos, and I've never post very many to begin with. However, I do know that I always every year post a bunch of pictures of stuff as it hatches, stuff I'm excited about, stuff that may be firsts or new or not many. And I always claim that I'm going to go post some updated pictures of those guys, and for whatever reason never get around to it. Most of the time it's because I don't have time. But I'm on Facebook and I see a bunch of people post videos of all their animals. I figured that was probably the easiest way for me to be able to highlight some of the animals that I always claim that I'm going to do update photo shoots of, and I never get around to. So I'm going to try to get some video footage of a bunch of the animals that we made this year that I'm excited about, or that people may just want to see how they're progressing. I think a handful of these maybe I didn't put any pictures up. I intended to and just never got around to it. But give me a second to adjust my camera. I am soloing this photo shoot, so give me a second. We'll get adjusted, and we'll get some animals. I'm going to put an animal down just to help me look at the shot, make sure I'm getting the camera focused properly. This little girl actually is in shed, but let's get her in the camera good, and be right back. Okay, so this first animal, she is in shed. I was actually trying this year to make a Super Mystic Lemon Blast. We missed on the Super Mystic Lemon Blast. I had two different shots at Super Mystic Pinstripes, and this is actually the only one that we got out of two clutches of potential Super Mystic Pins. Missed the Lemon Blast, but I really do enjoy this animal. She's got a very super stripe look going on with the stripe down her back, and I was really hoping that this particular animal would look a little bit more along the lines of what a Super Phantom Spider looks like. It picks up a lot of pattern. I thought another dominant pattern mutation like Pinstripe may do something similar to that, but you can see it really erased a lot of the pattern. About the only pattern it really maintained is a little bit of the Pinstripe pattern, all in the tail here. But it still has a bit of pattern along the rest of the animal, but most of it is pretty gone, and there's some pretty interesting colors going on. Maybe I can get another shot of her somewhere down the road when she's not in shed. But this was one of our holdback girls that I'm excited to get growing up, and was just a really neat looking animal. Another animal that I was excited to produce this year, along the lines of the Super Phantom Spider stuff. I was pretty excited to hatch this little guy out, and actually we hatched two sisters of his as well. This particular animal is a Super Phantom Yellow Belly Bumblebee. We also made a Super Phantom Yellow Belly and a Super Phantom Yellow Belly Spider. Those other two were girls. This particular little boy I held on to just because he had some really neat color. And you can kind of see it's got a little bit more of the purples and dark colors towards the tail. The Super Phantom Spider female is that color almost throughout. The pastel, adding the pastel to that, washed out some of the color up here in the front, but there's still some highlights, and it's got some really interesting coloration to it. So I'll be curious and interested to see what happens when we get this guy plugged into some other stuff. This particular animal I made primarily because I had this girl sitting around. I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do with her. But I do know that quite a few years ago, I remember on Chun Ku's table seeing a banana heterodixanthic, and I really enjoyed that animal a lot. So this year I happen to have a lace blackback, green pastel, some people know it as. They are compatible with Het Ready's Xanthic stuff. I had one of a lace blackback female, wasn't sure what to do with it, so I put my pastel coral glow on it, and we got a pastel coral glow lace blackback. It's picking up some really interesting colors, and I am kind of curious to see, if it turns out anything like what the coral glowy xanthics do when you get the super lace blackback. So hopefully this year, next year, we'll be able to get this guy plugged into either a super lace blackback female or a lace blackback female, one of the two, and see what that does. I skip over a few animals in here. This particular animal will be somewhat interesting, and hopefully down the road we'll do another video to try to explain this stuff a little bit better in the future. This guy's not going to cooperate and sit like I want him to, so it may be a little hard to pick up on the colors. But as best I know, this is the first year that I've made this, and what I believe this is the super of a gene that I've just been calling a yellow gene for quite a few years. There's no pastel in here. This stuff was pulled out of Mojave, but I don't believe that this particular animal actually has any Mojave in it. I think this is just a plain super yellow gene. So it's got some really bright yellows, some really interesting colorations to it. And like I said, hopefully I'll do some more video down the road somewhere that discusses a little bit more of the yellow gene stuff, and maybe put some pictures of some yellow gene stuff in here with this guy, and kind of what I've done with it so far, and give a little bit more history behind it. I have made some yellow gene super Mojave stuff and some yellow gene Mojave stuff, so we'll look at that down the road. But this guy I'm really excited about, because this will be the first chance that I believe I've hit the super, and so when I get this guy breeding a little bit, we'll be able to find out from his offspring, if this really is the super or not. This girl's actually going into shed, but this is another one of my holdbacks I was kind of excited about. I have made a xanthic Mojaves a little bit in the past. This girl's not going to cooperate at all. This is a VPI xanthic Pastavi. She is going into shed, but I'm really interested to see how she colors up. The xanthic Mojaves really hold their silver really well into adulthood, so I'm hoping this girl will too. And somewhere down the road, probably I plan on either getting some leopard into this, or getting some inchy into this, possibly putting some pinstripe. I do have something coming up that may end up breeding this girl in a few years down the road that could be for some fun, but I wanted to put her on there since we're going through the holdback rack. This particular animal is one that has been done before, but always gets a lot of attention whenever I bring it out anywhere. This is actually my buddy Marshall Vantor at NoCo Reptiles. Had his own line of specials that he found way back when Tom Baker originally found his line, making crystals with it, and then Bruce Dulles with the TCR line. This is Marshall's line, the NoCo line, super special. I personally believe that in the special form, just the heterozygous, they're all fairly similar. The supers of Marshall's line, and the reason I chose to work with that particular line is I believe that in general the supers have the darkest and most contrast and the most color on them in the super form. We were fortunate. I've actually been on the list for about 3 years from Marshall to get one of these animals, and he keeps missing and not making one. This year I got lucky enough to breed a special male to a lesser special female, and we actually hit 4 of these super specials, so I was really excited about that. These guys were almost white in the egg, so it's really interesting watching all the color come into them now. They're getting a lot of really bright orange coloration to them, and these guys are going to be gorgeous when they get a good bit older. So I'm excited about plugging this stuff into some things too. I haven't really made up my mind on where I want to go with it and what I want to get it into, but we'll do something with it for sure. I always thought that the GHI Mojaves were really neat looking animals. And I've always been a real big fan of mystic stuff. You can see the super mystic we made, pinstripe earlier. And I've got a fair amount of mystic stuff, so I thought, hey, why not get mystic GHI, see if we can't get the same thing out of it. And what I actually did was breed my GHI male to a Mystic Lemon Blast female, because I was also a big fan of the Mystic Pinstripe stuff. And I don't want to say we got bad luck by hitting the 4 gene animal, because we actually hit 3 of them. But what was a little upsetting is I wanted to see the Mystic Pin or the Mystic GHI or the Mystic GHI pin kind of by itself to see what those animals would look like, and we ended up with a trio of these GHI Mystic pastel pinstripes. They got some really interesting colors. Along the dorsum pattern, you can see the black is very, very black and highlighted. The black on the side is very diffused and almost purplish looking. It does have some pattern that it picked up in there. Almost looks like the side doesn't really have any pinstripe in it, but a lot of pinstripe crosses people are used to seeing this dorsal striping. It's got a very thin, unique look when you get pinstripe into a lot of dorsal striped animals. So I know there's pinstripe in this animal, but this is another one that'll be fun to breed, especially into some GHI girls down the road, and see what kind of super GHI crosses we can get with pastel and pinstripe and mystic and all that stuff in there. And, you know, who knows what a GHI mystic potion will look like. So, you know, maybe we'll get this guy plugged into some Mojaves down the road as well. I did keep a pair of these guys. This is my male. The female started out a little slow. She's a little bit smaller. But there wasn't a lot of variability in the 3 animals that we made. They're all pretty much the same. This is an animal that was really more along the lines of, hey, let's just do it because why not? I've been trying for a long time to get some albino Enchi stuff. We finally got a little bit this year. But I had an albino cinnamon girl. I've always liked the albino cinnamon girls just because they have, even albino black pastels are the same as well. The yellow and the white is just so much whiter on it that they're always a super, super high contrast animal. And then really the only males that I had this year that I could have used that were homozygous visual albinos was an albino and an albino spider. I didn't think anyone had made it, and so I said, hey, why not make an albino spider cinnamon? So I paired those 2 animals up. I actually got 9 eggs. It was albino spider to albino cinnamon, and believe it or not, we only hit 1 of these guys, but this is an albino cinnamon spider. So it does still have, albino spiders get that real banana yellow color. You still have a little bit in these alien eyes, but the albino cinnamon, stark white contrast, we still get in a lot of the white in the back. So this guy is really developing pretty neat as he's getting some age on him. I'm kind of excited about getting him breeding somewhere down the road. And I've got an albino pastel girl that we may be able to put him to somewhere down the road. So possibly albino spider pewters. That may be neat. And then we've got some Enchi albino stuff too that we may be plugging this guy into somewhere down the road and get some Enchi in there. This one was one that wasn't overly exciting, but to me, I've been using a champagne pinstripe for the last couple years to make champagne stuff with. I've always liked the champagne Enchi stuff, so I figured, hey, if I want to try to replace my champagne pinstripe with something, why not try to replace it with a champagne Enchi pinstripe? So we actually made a couple of these this year, and I picked the nicest male, in my opinion, and kept him. We got him growing up, so hopefully we'll have pinstripe, Enchi, champagne, somewhere down the road doing some stuff, and I don't know what I'm going to plug him into yet, but I just knew that I wanted to replace my champagne pin with something. Not a first, but definitely something that I was always excited about. These, to me, are just really gorgeous animals. This is a Enchi pastel hidden gene Woma yellow belly granite. So an Enchi Inferno is another name for it. Gorgeous, gorgeous animal. And I've got tons of hidden gene Woma male stuff, but I really like this guy. I'm a big, huge nut for Enchi stuff. So we'll use this guy somewhere down the road to make hopefully some super Enchi stuff. And probably use this as one of the more premier animals for hidden gene Woma crosses in the future. This is an animal I'm really excited about. Last year, or 2013 rather, I made an animal, and I've been able to watch it grow, and it's really done a lot of amazing things with color changes. And it was a lesser het red axanthic spot nose. As it's gotten to about a year old, it's picked up a lot of, very orange colors, like a navel orange, very orange. So this year, I wanted to make some more of those. And what I did this year, feisty little girl, I bred my lesser red axanthic male with a pastel Powerball female. That way I knew at least everything was going to be a spot nose het red. And we actually made two of these, which is the 4 gene. It's a pastel lesser het red axanthic spot nose. So very fun animal. I'm curious to see if she picks up any oranges. She definitely, along her dorsal striping, has picked up a lot of silver from the het red axanthic side. And I've noticed some of the het red crosses actually almost get some red axanthic look in certain parts of the body, and this girl definitely has it. Super, super busy tail patterning. I really like that stuff. I'm going to put this girl up now. She's getting a little feisty, but this one's going to be fun to watch grow. Here's two that I was really excited about. I've always been, a lot of people, some people may not know, a lot of people do know, I actually don't have any fire stuff in my collection. Just because way back when I started working with sulfurs, and I've just really enjoyed the sulfurs. Not that there's anything wrong with the fires, I've just really enjoyed the sulfur stuff, working with them, and the supers, particularly having so much pattern and color on them. So the last couple years I've been trying to get some sulfur combos, crosses, and stuff put together that I can start trying to make some super sulfur crosses to see if we can affect all that pattern that they get. So this pair right here I'm super excited about. Obviously it'll be a couple years before the girl's ready, but this is a pair of Orange Dream sulfurs that we made. We'll be using the male hopefully later this year to try to make an Orange Dream super sulfur. We'll see if we can get some really neat looking colors in the super sulfur orange. And then I'll obviously use these guys to plug in to make some other Orange Dream crosses with as well. This is one that I tried to hit last year, and I missed on it last year. Last year I did hit a Coral Glow Sugar, and that guy has recently started breeding, so I've been excited about it. He's actually in, as I record this video, with a pastel girl to try to make some more of these. This is a pastel sugar Coral Glow. I'm super excited about this. This one looks like he's going to have a little bit higher and a little bit more white than my male that I made last year. But as that white comes in on these animals, they're gorgeous animals, and that white is pied white. It's white when they become adults. So I was super excited about hitting this little guy. So we made the first VPI Axanthic Inchies back in 2010. I thought I was going to have a good shot last year at making super inchy Axanthics. The girl didn't go for me, but I've definitely wanted to make some Axanthic inchy crosses. So this is the first one we were able to do last year, and this is an Axanthic inchy pinstripe. He's going to get a lot more purple coloration where all this black is right here, and this stuff will stay really silver into adulthood, so I'm kind of curious to see how he grows up. We're definitely going to get him plugged into some of the other Axanthic stuff we have going. I know I've got a lesser het Axanthic girl that I'd love to put this guy to, possibly see what lesser inchy Axanthics look like, and I know that I've got a pastel Axanthic girl that he'll probably end up seeing. And then, as I was talking earlier, this guy may end up paying a visit to that Axanthic Pastavi girl I showed you earlier. Maybe we can make some pastel inchy Mojave pinstripe Axanthics in a couple years, and that'll be exciting. But this is a guy that'll probably replace most of my Axanthic inchy male stuff. I'll be replacing with this guy. I've always loved the Axanthic pinstripes, and the Xanthic Inchies, so why not put them together? And we did, and I really love it. This was an interesting one as well, and has got some really cool bubblegum pink coloration in it. I can't wait to see how this girl is going to develop and grow up. And looking at her, I really haven't even decided what I want to plug her into down the road, but this is a Inchi Cinnamon Hidden Gene Woma. I don't see what Kevin typically calls the classic granite markers in the Hidden Gene Woma stuff. I do believe it is actually a separate gene. It has got a very strong affinity to the Hidden Gene Woma stuff. It's very difficult to get separated from that. But there are some markers, and typically you see it with dots in the alien eyes. In the eye stripes, dots in the nostril stripes, or a lot of times you get little dots in the neck pattern. She doesn't have any. Her head and eye stripe and neck stripe is really, really clean. So it's quite possible this one doesn't actually have any granite gene in it. But the coloration on it was just really gorgeous. I was really surprised to see that pink color that she picked up. But it's really pretty, and I hope she doesn't lose it as she gets into adulthood. And then last but not least, this is one that we just made. I've been trying to make these for 2 years as well. I thought I actually had hit one in 2013. And then as soon as this girl popped out of the egg, I got 2 of them. I realized that definitely was not what I hit. But that is what I believe to be an albino Inchi spider. I've always liked the albino spiders. The problem with them is as they get a little bit older, they really turn into almost a banana, because the white that's the spider lines when they're babies pretty much turns a yellow color. I knew the albino Inchi white stayed really, really orange, so I was hoping that I could turn the spider patterning into an orange on that yellow background. As a baby, it did exactly what I was hoping it would do. Now I just got to let this girl grow up, get a little bit older, and see if that orange still stays there. Well, I was excited. I've gotten, I think, 4 clutches or 5 clutches to try to hit these in the last 2 years, and I've continued to miss. But on top of missing, I never did make any albino Inchies either, and the only reason I didn't get nervous is because the Stinger Bee het that I've been using to try this from, I produced, so at least I knew it was Inchi in there. But I finally this year also hit an albino Inchi. I was in an earlier clutch that we were trying for the same thing, so I finally got my albino Inchi male, and actually this is the only albino Inchi that I've hit yet. Fortunately, it's a male. So I'll be able to use that guy to plug into some more albino projects down the road. I've loved albino Inchies since the first time I saw a picture of one of those. I can't even recall what book it was. I think it was John Barry's second ball python book. There was a picture of one that I believe Mark Bell had made way back when, and I fell in love with it. And so actually, right after I saw that picture, it was the middle of breeding season. I went and paired up. Believe I put my Stinger Bee on an albino girl, and in 2010 or 11, I can't remember what year, I made a Stinger Bee het albino, and I've been using him ever since to try to make this. And lo and behold, 2014 is the first time I actually ever got to produce any albino Inchi stuff, but I'm super excited about it. So that's pretty much the end of our holdbacks that we've got.